Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 110 of Screw the Commute podcast. Jeff Justice is here today, and this is a guy I've known for years, and I learned a ton from him when I was starting my speaking career. And he's built a lifestyle business that's just too fun to quit. He can't quit. So we'll talk to him in a minute. Episode 109 was one of my Monday training sessions, and this is a really sexy one, especially compared to Jeff's today. Business insurance is what I talked about. And you probably just want to quit listening to Jeff and go back and listen to deductibles and premiums and errors and omission insurance. But try to resist. We promise to do a good show for you today. All right, our podcast app is in the iTunes store, and you can go to screwthecommute.com/app, APP, and put it on your cell phone and your tablet, and it'll do all kinds of cool stuff when you take us with you on the road. And if you can't figure it out, guess what? We've got entire training for you right there at screwthecommute.com/app. Now, our on-demand TV channel, the public speaking channel, just went live on Roku TV. If you have a Roku box, please install that. And you probably have, about $100,000 worth of free training just for having a Roku box or a Roku TV. And you'll also start seeing us on Amazon Fire and a bunch of other channels that we're developing for on-demand TV. All right, our youth program is in full swing, and we are very interested in highlighting entrepreneurial youth. And when I say young, it's up to about 22 years old. So if you know anybody that's doing great entrepreneurial things, please have them get in touch with me at orders@antion.com, and I'll let them know what it takes to get featured on a special episode of Screw the Commute. All right, our sponsor. Now, if you do any speaking at all, people in your audience expect an appropriate entertainment level whenever they listen to a presentation. And so Jeff's been great at that and teaching people that for years and years and years. Now, from the boardroom to the ballrooms, you must put just the right amount of humor in your talk, or you'll be considered a snoozer. So if you're speaking for money or aspiring to be a pro speaker, using humor effectively will ramp your speaking fees up quickly. Now, you can watch a pro-level webinar I've done over and over again until you master the techniques in it. And I can tell you from experience that adding entertainment value to your material can catapult you to stardom in the speaking and business world. So check it out at screwthecommute.com/make-laugh. screwthecommute.com/make-laugh, and we'll have that in the show notes. All right, let's get to the main event. Jeff Justice hasn't had a real job since 1981, yet he has a 3,000 square foot house in a prestigious Buckhead community in Atlanta, Georgia. He's traveled the world, and he doesn't really need to work another day for the rest of his life, but the money is too good and too easy to turn it down. After getting screwed over multiple times by the system, Jeff developed the motto, most amount of money for the least amount of time, but always make it fun. Jeff, are you ready to screw?
I am ready to screw.
All right. And you've been doing it for a long time too, right?
Right. And first of all, right off the bat, I want you to know you screwed me out of my evening last night because you told me to go listen to one of your past podcasts, and I happened to turn on the one with Mark Bullard, your
the video guy,
color head genius, and spent the next 3 hours on YouTube fixing all of my videos. I have 60, 70 videos on there for one of my businesses, and had to go through and change all the descriptions and everything else. So. So I screwed you, but hopefully it'll pay off in the long run. Well, as always, Tom, you have amazing information. I can't believe you give it to these people for the price you do. So.
Well, yeah, it's free. That's
free.
The problem. Yeah.
Something for nothing, I'll take a dozen.
So tell everybody what you're doing currently, and then we'll take you back on a journey to the past to see how you evolved into this beautiful lifestyle business where you do not have to be on this call with me. And that's a beautiful place to be.
I'm here because I choose to.
That's the way we like it.
Yeah, I've got 3 parts to my business.
Mm-hmm.
That's of course, on the side, doing anything that my wife tells me to do.
Right.
But that's the main part of my business. But I'm still a keynote speaker on humor in the workplace, how to laugh more, stress less, and avoid getting burned out. And I teach stand-up comedy. I do 4 classes a year, 6-week courses where I tell people to send me money, I'll make them funny. And we do it live here in Atlanta. So that's pretty wild because people graduate from that live on stage at the Punchline in front of a sold-out house. And they're doing exactly what you were talking about before. These are mostly business people learning to add humor to their lives and to their speaking, and then they go back and put it in their presentations.
Yeah, that's so important. Something happened I learned pretty well on in the beginning in the professional speaking arena is that, I came on as a humorist, and then I decided, you know what? Maybe I should be an entertaining business speaker, because if you're a little worried about this, if they don't expect you to be funny and you are, that's way better than I'm expecting to be funny and you aren't.
That's the best. That's the best. I actually do some programs with a trainer, and he always gets these huge laughs because, as I tell people, when I'm on there, the bar is set real high.
Exactly.
They're expecting me to
They're
be funny,
you.
And him, they're just hoping to stay awake during it. But then the third part of my business is the one that most people don't know about, and it's the main part of my business now, is I provide continuing education seminars to, of all things, court reporters. And I started doing that live years ago, and now it's built into a very nice online business.
See, I'm just picturing a court reporter in the court. It's a big murder trial or something, and they bust out laughing and everybody looks at them.
Or they look up and they got like a bozo nose on,
yeah.
or my bloodshot eyeballs or something.
Yeah, and it keeps happening over and over again through the trial.
That'd be fun, putting a whoopee cushion underneath the judge's seat for like your last day at work. Like, you're going to quit that day anyways.
So how'd you get into the CEU stuff?
Well, as you do also, both of us, we always cross-market everything that we do.
Yeah.
So during one of my comedy classes, I was talking about how I do programs on using humor to deal with stress. And this one guy in my class goes, "Oh, man, you know who could use a course like that? Court reporters." And I said, "Well, great, but how would I make any money out of it?" He said, "Well, they got to get continuing education credits, and maybe you could put together a program and, charge them to come to the program." And he said, "Matter of fact, we got a state convention coming up. You ought to contact them and see, if it would work." So I called up the association, told them what I wanted to do for the concurrent session, and they asked me what I charged. I told them, and they said, "No, we'd never pay anybody that much money." And I said, "All right, I'll tell you what, why don't you just give me $25 for every person that comes to my seminar, and that way you don't have to pay me for all the people that don't come." They go, "That's a great idea." They want to pay me $500 more than I originally asked for. Because court reporters their programs they go to are just notoriously boring.
They have to be just death on
people
wheels.
Reading out of a book the whole time. And, you can imagine how fascinating grammar and punctuation is when it's delivered by somebody who's a super introvert and doesn't want to do anything except push keys on their machine.
Right.
So I go in there adding humor to it, and these people are going crazy. And luckily for me, over the years, I have found the key to my success was to find people in that industry that were very knowledgeable and either spoke well, did a good job speaking, or I could help them and add humor to their presentations and help them with their speaking skills so that they became a lot better. And with most of them worked out. I had one person didn't work out with, but everybody else, they're the best programs you could possibly get as a court reporter.
Yeah, and absolutely. And those people are just probably desperate for something exciting in their lives.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, and the great thing about doing continuing education, I think you and I did a program on this once,
yes.
Years and years ago, is the wonderful thing about it is that they have to get continuing education in order to keep their license, whether it's massage therapists or court reporters or doctors or nurses, lawyers, you name it. So if you can develop a program that they need and deliver it to them in a way that it's interesting, fun, keeps their attention, and they learn something, you're gonna do well with it.
Have you thought of expanding to other industries or markets?
Yeah, I did in the past. I did CPEs for
Computers,
attorneys.
CPUs.
Well, yeah, CPUs. Too fast for them. For attorneys, not attorneys, I'm sorry, CPAs.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of worked, but CPAs are the kind of people that they don't want any type of soft skill whatsoever. And back then we were doing stress management, organized office, things like that. And I just had one that just really died, where I sent out 17,000 brochures. 4 people signed up for 2 seminars, and 1 person had signed up for 2 of them.
Oh man.
So I stopped doing that, and lawyers would probably be good, but I just don't want to talk to lawyers.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah. I was talking to somebody about that because they got covered to do CEU credits for attorneys by teleseminar. And I know darn well those people got the speakerphone on and they're billing hours to other people while the thing is running in the background.
Well, there's a part of you as a speaker. I've had some people that have been kind of like that as court reporters. They're sitting in the back and they're working on a deposition or something like that instead of really paying attention. And at some point you go, you know what? They just gave me $199. They're here for their 10 hours. If they don't want to learn anything, I can't force them to learn anything.
Yeah, for sure. It's just, I hate to be on murder trial where they're in charge of the transcript.
Well, nothing I'm going to tell them is going to save anybody's life.
Yeah, that's for sure. So tell us about, what's it called? What is it? 4-week class, 6-week class? What is it?
The comedy class?
The comedy class, yeah.
Jeff Justice's comedy workshop.
And is it mostly from the metro area? Because that's a long time. People don't come in from far away, do they, or do they?
I have had people that have flown down every week from Columbus, Ohio.
Columbia.
Yeah, Columbia.
Do it in Spanish, right?
I've had people, one guy in my last class drove from Jackson, Mississippi, and that's 6 or 7 hours. And he would drive in on Monday, do the class, stay Monday night, and then drive back. He worked in a prison. So, anything to get out of that.
Yeah, really.
So I would say the vast majority, 95% of the people are from probably 15, 20 miles from where I teach the class. And the rest are from the Carolinas, Alabama, Tennessee. Because it's the only class that's like this. There's people that teach comedy classes, but I've been doing this for 30 years. I've graduated over 3,000 people over the years. So wow. I kind of know what I'm doing after a while.
Yeah, you put a lot of humor in the world, that's for sure. Now, but is there any kind of watered down online course that people can, what can they take advantage of from you to get started, even if they live in a long way away?
Nothing. No, actually, if they are a speaker, and they want to add a secret weapon to their speaker toolkit, I do have a great DV called How to Ad-Lib Like a Professional or Just Look Like One. And it's all the best. Yeah, it's all the best ad-libs. And it also comes with an ebook, too. So it's all the best ad-libs that they've come up with over the years, and a few of them that were just too good to leave on the table that I heard. And, it's just, how it is as a speaker. If something happens during the room, the microphone feeds back, somebody drops something, somebody walks in late, and you make any comment at all, it's hysterical.
Exactly. And it looks like you're a genius. You're right on tune with everything, but these are all pre-planned in case that thing happened, and then you pull it out of your bag, right?
Right. The best ad-lib is a well-prepared one.
Exactly. Yeah, it seems like an oxymoron, but
it does.
Yeah, the one I keep a whole bunch of them in my mind. I was like, if the projector bulb goes out, it's like I look at it real close. It says, last service by Thomas Edison.
Exactly.
Anything is going to make you look really, really cool, and it reduces the anxiety in the audience when you are not flustered, they're not flustered.
And exactly, you're also acknowledging that something's wrong. Mm-hmm. It's like, for example, one of the ones I'll tell the trainers, I'll say to them, have you ever come back after lunch and you're doing a full day program and there's not as many people in the class as there were before lunch? I said, because what everybody else is thinking, oh man, we could have left too. So I'll walk in there and go, well, I guess you're the ones that didn't have the tuna surprise. And, if it gets a laugh, and then everybody realizes, oh, okay, some people left. But when you can acknowledge those things and you can use humor, boy, you just look like such a professional.
Yeah, and that's another thing when there's a distraction. Some people just try to work over it, but it's totally ridiculous to try. So address it, right?
Yeah, I'll do stuff like a siren will go by, cop siren, and I'll take a step to the side and go, "Oh, my ride's here."
Yeah.
Take a step, and it's a big laugh. Or, if there's noise next door, great. Why do they always put me next to the juggler?
Yeah. So that's covered on your DVD with the companion ebook, right?
Right. How to ad lib like a professional or just look like one.
And where do they get that?
They can get that at the jeffjustice.com website.
jeffjustice.com. We'll have that in the show notes for everybody. So tell us how the comedy class works. I mean, how many people in the class roughly?
I tell you what, I'll give you my 60-second commercial.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is basically a 6-week course. We meet one night a week for 6 weeks from 7 to 10:30. You learn all the basics of stand-up comedy, how to write jokes, tell jokes, how to take the things that are funny to you and make them funny on stage, because there is a difference. And each week you come in with your jokes. I point out what works and what doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, I help you rewrite it to make sure it does work. The only class in the country that actually helps you rewrite your jokes. Then I show you how to organize it in routine, how to memorize it and deliver it. And then graduation is live on stage at the Punchline in front of a sold-out crowd.
Wow. Yeah.
Drop the mic.
Yeah. Amazing. That's extremely.
How many times do you think I've said that?
Oh, a few. And you can rewind, everybody, if you didn't catch all of it. So,
and I take 20 people at a time, and it's been sold out for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't market it. It's the only marketing is word of mouth, and I guess I do market it because I do pay for. I don't even think I pay for words, AdWords on it, because it just comes to the top. I mean, when you search comedy classes in Atlanta, stand-up comedy classes in Atlanta,
there's probably not that many, so it's going to be the only ones.
But it's one of the only ones, and but when you compare the two, it's like it's not. The only reason why you would take one of the other classes is to save $100.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Yeah,
and if you're shopping by price, then I don't really want to talk to you anyway.
Yeah, so do you have any really crazy success stories that you of some of the people? Like, I remember one time I was doing a humor seminar as a make them laugh thing all day long, and this one lady was just totally never laughed. You can't miss that in a humor seminar all day, right, when somebody doesn't laugh, and you got to fight not to keep looking at them, because you're going to get everybody else all down. And at the end of the day, she hung around, and I thought, oh man, in my mind, I'm going through all this stuff. I wonder if I said something sexist or racist or just something wrong that pushed it the wrong way. And so she's hanging around till everybody leaves, and then she comes up in tears saying, I never thought I could have any humor in my life. And she's crying, and I'm crying. So imagine you get a wide range of people that go into this class.
I know this really sounds egotistical, but I mean, it really changes people's lives.
It does.
It's amazing. My favorite one is years ago, shows you how long ago this was. I was in Blockbusters with my kids, and we're walking around, and I'm, hey, put that down, get over here. And, I have a pretty distinctive voice.
Yeah.
And there's this guy that just walked in the door on the other side of the store, and all of a sudden he looks up, and he comes walking over to me. And he says, Jeff, I know you don't remember me, but I took your comedy class about 7 years ago. And I did actually remember the guy. And I said, oh, no, I remember you. He goes, I just want you to know that every great thing that's happened in my life is a direct result of me taking your class. And my life has been fantastic. And I just wanted to thank you. Shakes my hand, turns around, walks out. I'm like, got tears coming down.
Exactly, right.
Oh, man. So, yeah, there's people that, a friend of mine took my class years ago, and we were out one New Year's Eve. And he said, I never told you this, but before I took your class, I always took everything so seriously and just really just not fun to be around. And once I took that class, I realized that laughing at myself was the best thing that I could do. And it has just made such an incredible change in my life. Things don't bother me anymore. I don't worry about things. And it's just amazing. You don't realize the changes that happen to people when you give them that permission to laugh or show them they can be funny.
Yeah, and a lot of them, it might be the first time in their life, because some of them came up through with those families that are, wipe that stupid smile off your face, and they were, they weren't encouraged to talk in adult functions. It was like, shut up and stay out of the way, and so that carried it through their whole life. And a 6-week course with you turned that switch for them. That's really great.
I had one guy who was going on, and he's a headhunter here in Atlanta, like works with people that make like $500,000 or more. Very straightest guy I ever met in my life. And at the graduation, one of my students said, "Oh, I met his wife before the show." She came up to me and says, "I've been married to the guy for 17 years. I've never once heard him say something funny. I can't wait to see this." And he was hilarious because he laughed at himself. He poked fun at himself for being so straight and so serious.
Yeah.
And his friends were in the audience, and they were hysterical because he was laughing at himself.
Right. And you know what? I did an informal survey years ago when I lived up in D.C. This was even before the internet was around. The Washingtonian magazine had a classified section in the back, personals, for people wanting to meet each other.
Yeah.
So I started collecting them over a course of a year. I subscribed to the magazine, and every month I would count up the number of ads that said that they wanted somebody with a sense of humor. 70% of the ads out of those thousands and thousands of ads wanted a person with a sense of humor and or claimed that they had a sense of humor. So it's a total life-changing thing that you're doing here.
Well, then again, though, I do remember a comedian used to talk about how women always say they want a guy with a sense of humor, but they sleep with the rock star.
That could be too. Well, at least you can take him to the grocery store and buy all their stuff for him. The other guy gets the benefit.
Well, I see. My wife's always had a great sense of humor, and I had to. I knew I had to marry somebody with a sense of humor. And on our honeymoon, this was actually the first time getting married for her. And I said, "Look, I know you're 38, never been married, but is there any chance that I was first?" She goes, "Well, you could have been. You look familiar."
Did you ever get her up on stage?
Never. She would kill me.
No.
I've had both my kids on stage, but not her.
Okay.
Well, she's a singer-songwriter, too. She used to tour as a backup singer with Tammy Wynette, had her own album. Wow. So she's had that whole life. And, she would, kill me.
Yeah, well, Tammy Wynette was really funny, too. She was. So let's take it back. It's like, how did you start out your career? Did you have jobs?
Well, I graduated from college, moved up to Atlanta, and got one job. Well, actually, two jobs. The first one was at WYZE Fun Country 1480, 5,000 watt daytime radio station that changed formats about every other week. Right? And
what were you doing there?
I was trying to sell radio time, and it was a disaster. We were selling it for 50 cents a spot, and it was horrible. And then after that, I got a job with a company selling. This is when you used to do projector shows where you'd have 16 carousel projectors synced up and stuff.
I had that at my nightclub.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So we were working with Lanier Business Products back then, and I went to one of their big meetings, and the backstabbing and under the table snide crap that I experienced during our 1 hour meeting between the lower echelon of executives and stuff like that, I just said, there's no possible way I can ever be part of this. I mean, that can't happen. And from there, I picked up a few little jobs, bartending, then managing really big, actually assistant night manager. Okay, basically the bar back made more than I did, okay? But I had a hobby of magic. And I would, do magic tricks and sleight of hand at different places for people. And when I left the last place that I managed, I got a job working at a little magic shop in Atlanta.
Oh.
and basically would do tricks for people there, and got the nerve from doing that to go on stage at an open mic night. I went to the one that they had in Atlanta, and there was a comedian magician on stage, and after 3 or 4 beers, I'm going, I'm funnier than this guy, man. So I went up to the manager afterwards, talked to him. He said, come back next week. You can go on up. I said, great. What do you want to do? Like 5 minutes, 10 minutes? He goes, no, you can do 20 minutes.
Oh, man.
And
you don't see that very often.
I had no act.
Yeah.
Nothing. I'd never been on stage. I'd just been at my magic shop. So I went and took the routines that I did for the customers every day and tried to make them funnier. Went up there, long story short, killed. None of the other comedians got laughs. I just tore the place apart. And I'm going, that's it. I'm supposed to be funny. And I go up to the manager. I go, you want me to come back next week? He goes, no, give it a rest. Come back in about 2 weeks. Came back 2 weeks later with my girlfriend, totally tanked. I mean, like nothing.
Oh, man.
And what I realized was it was the same 35, 40 people came every week.
I get it.
And I was the first new person they'd seen in a long time. But but hearing that laughter the first time,
right.
that's what got me. And
that's addictive, that's for sure.
Eventually, I sold everything I had, took that $20, moved up to New York. 30 years old, moved into my parents' house again. Right, started going to downtown to the comedy clubs there 7 nights a week, hanging out in the clubs at 2 o'clock in the morning, hoping to get on, watching the professionals. And eventually, the thing that helped me in New York was I had 20 funny minutes and a car. And they always needed somebody to drive the other 2 acts to the gig in New Jersey or Connecticut. So I always got the MC spot. And I would talk to those guys, and they'd give me advice and stuff, and just basically made it in stand-up comedy, which led to doing some corporate stuff, which when I got to Atlanta, I started going to a local open mic night on the days that I was home, and I noticed there was some things that the local comedians were doing wrong, whether they were putting the punch word in the wrong place, not emphasizing the right thing, all these little things. Mm-hmm. And I found the ones that I gave advice to, and they took it. And, not everybody takes your advice, right? They immediately got funnier. It's like the next time they were on stage, they were funnier. And 8 of them got together and said, would you do us a favor? If we gave you some money, would you teach us what you know, the things that we're missing? So I put together a 4-week course. I Xeroxed a few pages out of one of Judy Carter's books, stapled them together, and just out of chance, right before the end of the class, I said, you know what? Why don't we do a show? Why don't you invite your friends over to Jerry Farber's, and they held like about 90 people, and we'll do your routines. It'd be a lot of fun. And it went great. They sold the place out. Their friends had a great time, and I figured that was it. That I might do it one more time in a few years. And at the end of the show, their friends came up and said, have you ever thought about doing this for normal people? That looks like it'd be a lot of fun. And this was back before the
normal people. That's interesting.
Because their friends who were comedians definitely aren't normal.
Right.
So this was before the internet. And I was just like, well, give me your phone number. If I ever decide to teach the class again, I'll give you a call. And that was literally 3,000 people ago.
Wow.
So it has just kept going, and I've gotten periodic newspaper articles, magazine articles, get on TV once in a while. But I would say the vast majority of it is word of mouth.
Yeah, and you made a good living for many years just being funny, right?
My entire career.
Your entire career, yeah. So now a lot of people on the outside would say that the comedy clubs and stuff is a cutthroat business. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's a hard way to make a living. I mean, there's a lot of funny people out there. And I tell you, a lot of my past students now that are out there working, I'm the first one to say they're a lot funnier than I ever was. I mean, there's some funny people. So I lucked out. I hit the comedy scene right at its resurgence, or its rebirth, let's say. Mm-hmm. There was a Lenny Bruce and all them back then, and it died for years and it came back. And clubs were opening all over the place. Everybody needed feature acts and headliners. A lot of them couldn't pay airfare, needed people to drive to. And I mean, I was in such a sweet spot. And that's not to say I didn't have a good act, but I had a comedy magic act. It was, part stand-up and part magic, or magic comedy. And I did very well with it. But to go out now, I would never go out now again at 30 and start all over again, especially if I had a family, because there's not as many clubs. There's as many comedians. There's a lot of people that are really funny. But the worst part for me now, there's a lot of people that are funny and really dirty.
Yeah,
and I can't follow a dirty act. I mean, it isn't gonna be work for me because I'm clean, which is why I make so much money, as you know, doing corporate stuff.
Right.
It's just the first time I figured out that somebody would give me as much money for 45 minutes as I used to get for a week or 2 weeks on the road.
Exactly.
I'm like, let me get out of this business now.
So it really does make more sense if somebody does want to have this, add more humor and be funny and stuff, to go into speaking, because there's way more opportunity.
That's what I tell my students. For comedy, put it this way, and I would say the same thing for acting too. It can't be something you'd like to do or you want to do. It's got to be something you have to do. And when I first started, I had to be a comedian. I didn't care what happened, if I had to sleep on couches, in my car, or whatever. I wanted to be on stage every night with the possibility of hearing that laughter again. And it was just addicting. It was like the best drug I'd ever had. But there's a lot of people that, you know how there are with speakers, right? There's a lot of people going, National Speakers Association, I think I'll join and become a speaker. And the next year you'd never see him again.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And as I always tell my students, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Yeah, that's for sure. But, okay, well, we got to take a brief break for our sponsor, and then, which is always me, by the way. But when we come back, we'll ask Jeff what's a typical day look like for him and how he stays motivated in his business. So, folks, if you do any public speaking or business presentations, you can triple the effectiveness of your talk by adding appropriate amounts of humor. And I'm not talking about telling jokes. I mean, there's over 30 ways you can jazz up a presentation using simple techniques that anyone can master, and none of them are telling jokes. And presentations and speeches, you're not trying to be a stand-up comedian. You're trying to get your message across and keep the audience's attention. And these techniques work no matter how serious the presentation. I mean, even Shakespeare used comic relief in the middle of his tragedies because people can only absorb so much heavy information before they can't take it anymore and they zone out on you. So check out our Make 'em Laugh Pro Level webinar. You can get a lot of these techniques that are pretty much self-working. You can check that out at screwthecommute.com/make-laugh. We'll have that in the show notes, but also get a hold of the DVD from Jeff, because anything I've ever seen from him ever has been stellar. And I learned a lot from him when I was getting started, because he's way, way older than me, I think. So I was just a babe in the woods when he was.
When I first took you under my wing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think somebody dropped me in a basket, more like a big dumpster, maybe. I don't know, in front of his door. But yeah, I learned so much from him when I first got started, and I really appreciate that. So let's get back to Jeff. And Jeff, so what's, I mean, you don't have to be talking to me. You don't have to be doing anything right now. You've built up a great business that supports you and your family. What does a typical day look like for you right now?
Well, to give you an idea, we were talking to some friends about retirement and stuff, and my wife was sitting there, and as we discussed what retirement would look like, she looks at me and goes, "How would that be any different from what you normally do?"
Exactly.
See, honey, it works. That's how I've set up my life. My typical day, I tell you what, if I worked as hard as my wife does, I would be a zillionaire. But I don't. I sleep late. Now I'm back to working out again, so I'll get up a few days a week and do my kettlebell and my martial arts stuff. Now, do you do martial arts too? I saw.
Oh, I've been my whole life. Yeah, I've got a brutal self-defense class, and it's multiple different disciplines. There's no art to it at all. It's like just bust a person into oblivion.
And do what works.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a world champion martial artist.
I hear it coming.
I am.
I hear it coming.
Yeah, I know I have.
Yeah, and what?
And Tai Chi push hands. I've won the super heavyweight championship, both the national one and international 2 or 3 times.
What is it called? Is it, you got it? You're pulling my leg, right?
No, check on the internet.
Tai Chi push hands.
Tai Chi, Taichi.
Yeah, Tai Chi. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the second part?
Just push hands competition.
Push. Okay.
And just put my name with it, and you'll find me.
There's got to be something, a punchline or somewhere.
No, it's fun. Well, if you do martial arts, how much fun it is throwing people around.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, it's a blast. Yeah.
And I won my last one last summer at 67 years old, and I'm going against these guys who are like in their late 20s, early 30s, 300-pounders and stuff, and their masters are standing there with them. These guys have never lost a match, but they don't know what I know.
Well, you get them laughing and they can't.
That's it. Internal laughter. That's the secret.
Yeah, right. That's the chi. Yeah. I'll tell you when I became a believer is I had this teacher. He's now a grand master. And he looked like Jesus. And he's just a tall, skinny guy with long hair. And he's helping me. He's back in the nightclub days when I'm learning Aiki-Jitsu. And, I couldn't just bust people up because they'd be in court all the time. So I had to learn lots of control techniques to create enormous pain, but no bruising.
Good. So, there you go.
So he's
sounds like my sex life.
There you go. Ad lib. Perfect. So we're working out, and he's got an open hand that's only about 1/4 of an inch from my chest. And he just kind of like goes and just like drops his shoulders, maybe, I don't know, a couple inches and go. And it felt like, and I wasn't a believer at this point, but it felt like an atomic bomb went off in my spine and went up into my head. And I had a headache for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was my, there's something more to this than I'll ever figure out, because I mean, that's all he did his whole life, day and night, and was able to start controlling chi, which is an internal power for those people wondering what I'm talking about.
He definitely did. He's an internal martial artist. If you want to see my guy, his name's Adam Meisner, Mizner.
Oh, that's the Meisner method, right?
No, that's acting.
Oh, okay.
But you will watch his videos and you will swear it's all fake.
Yeah, and there is some fakers out there for sure.
There is.
All right, but yeah, I was a believer after this. So what's his name? Adam Meisner?
Yeah, Mizner.
Oh, Mizner. Okay. Yeah.
And he touches you and just basically takes over your nervous system. And you see these people, what he's doing to them, and it's scary. And I've gotten to touch hands with him before at seminars, and it's over. From the moment he touches you, there's nothing you can do.
Right. And it's just hard to believe for people just watching some of this stuff. But yeah. And like I said, there's plenty of fakers out there that are trying to take advantage of this kind of stuff. So you basically get up late, and I remember hearing one of my favorites is Kathleen Madigan.
I love Kathleen.
Yeah, she's so. Yeah. You know her?
Oh yeah, she used to be an opening act or a feature act for me in St. Louis.
Oh, she's hysterical. She's talking about how she gets these letters from her some of her married friends. Every Christmas they send a letter out of what's going on with the family, and she said, "Well, I wonder what mine would say." It says, "Oh, I get up late and I got extra money." Yeah, and another thing that's favorite from her was, she was talking about Canada. She said, that's just like the U.S.'s attic. She says, you forget it's up there, but there's a lot of cool things up there. Right.
I just love her whole presentation.
Oh, I do too. I just love her. She cracks me up. And then Larry the Cable Guy is another favorite, of course. And he's in Home Depot and says he's mad at them because they threw him out. But it wasn't his fault. They should have put a sign near those toilets for display purposes only.
He is one of the highest, if not the highest paid comedian in the world.
I did know that. Yeah. And it just amazed me. And some of my friends just cringe. They can't stand it. But there's a lot of blue collar people out there. I mean, that was the whole blue collar tour and everything. Jeff Foxworthy and all those guys.
Yeah, one of my past students spent about 2 or 3 years on the road with him as his opening act.
Oh,
and
wow.
He just loved it. He loved it. He said, you got to go all over the world. And he says his audiences were just insanely great. that you get out there and there's 50,000 people out there.
Yeah. This was a serious thing. And Ron, of course, Ron White, the old drunk, what he say? The police told him he had the right to remain silent, but he didn't have the ability.
Now, Ron White was one of those guys, and I love Ron. He comes to my graduations once in a while to like work on new material.
Oh, that's cool.
But I was in Fort Worth, Texas years ago, and I'm the headliner, and the guy who's the feature act got some TV gig or something like that, couldn't show, and the guy says, well, I'm going to bring in a buddy of mine to be the feature act.
Now, tell people what that means, a feature act and a headliner, how they're different.
So in a normal comedy show that you see that says three people, there's the MC who opens the show, brings on the other acts, works on his material in between the two other acts, and at the end of the show comes back, gets a big round of applause, everybody, does the announcements for the club,
right,
birthdays, things like that. And he's the low, or she's the low man on the totem pole, even though they got like the hardest job. And then there's a feature act who's got the
Did you just
job.
fart, or did you?
That's that lightning I was talking about, man. Like, at least that's what I'm going to say. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. That was lightning, brother.
All right.
That's thunder and lightning. So the
that
feature
could
act,
be a fart. I mean,
it could be.
depending on what you ate. All right, so that's a low man or low person.
Right. Then the feature act is 30 minutes. He's got what we call the rocking chair spot, because he's in a great position, because if you like the MC, you're in a good mood and you're looking forward to some more. And if you didn't like the MC, you're going, thank God they're gone. Now I'm looking forward to somebody funny.
Okay.
But you don't have to close the show. You get okay money, but you do the 30 minutes in the middle. And then the headliner is the one supposedly everybody came to see. They do 45 minutes to an hour. They're the ones that you can make anywhere from, like what I made. I was probably one of the highest paid non-celebrity headliners at that time, and back then I was only making $2,200 or $2,300 on a great week. But if you were a headliner that could pull people in, you might get a percentage of the door. So you might make $5,000-$10,000 for the night.
How many shows is that?
3 shows.
You're just doing? No, I mean 3 shows a week.
Oh, so what it used to be Tuesday through Sunday. So you do 1 show Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday, 2 on Friday, 3 on Saturday.
Wow.
But now it's usually less than that. And a lot of the big headliners now, they only come in for Friday and Saturday, or at the most Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So they fly in, do their 3 nights, and they're gone, and a local person does the other ones. Or maybe the club's only open Thursday through Sunday.
And how much time did you spend working on material?
Not enough.
You still made it headliner.
Well, like I say, I had a funny act. I wasn't what you'd call a great stand-up comedian. I always tell my students, I go, I made it to the bottom of the top.
Well,
which is that's something, isn't it?
That is something. That's a lot. I mean, just think of how many people never made it to the bottom of the bottom. All right, so.
But I knew. I mean, I had that Rocky Raccoon and a bunch of magic stuff and audience participation, and I mean, I knew how to work an audience and just.
Yeah, you did it at NSA where you had to be squeaky clean, and you rocked the place. I mean, I remember that vividly. I remember you cutting the microphone cord.
Yeah,
all that stuff.
The handkerchief through the mic stand. And
all that. Handkerchief through the mic and all those things. Yeah, so
the chariots of fire and all that. I mean, it's showbiz, baby. Right.
So now that you get to lay around and do nothing all day, so how do you get motivated to even bother to talk to me today?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
and it's something to do. No, I'm trying to just kill another hour in my day. Okay, Tom, I can't be all TV. All right, I'm walking the dog. No, I have different busy times during the year. So when my classes are in session, one of the things that I offer for them is I help them rewriting their jokes. So when we get towards the last week or 2 of each class, I'm spending a lot of time trying to make people funny, trying to make their jokes funny. With the court reporters, there's certain times of the year that their credits are due, and a lot of them are procrastinators. So where I might have, like this month, I might have 25 people, 30 people take my seminars online. December, I might have 230, 240.
Yeah. So the court reporter thing is a remote thing. That's not all Atlanta people.
Oh, no, it's all remote. Yeah.
Yeah, that's remote. Yeah.
So what I do now is I used to go out and do live seminars to make money. I think the most I ever did on one, I'd made like $70,000 in one day. I had 280 something court reporters sign up for a program. It was $249 a person. It was like insane. But those days are gone. Now I'm lucky if I get 30 people, 35 people that come to a live program,
yeah.
because nobody wants to travel.
Right.
But that's great for me because I'd rather have a small audience to videotape. And
Right.
I'm just using the live seminars to videotape. So what do I care? As long as it pays for the hotel and my airfares and my other speakers, that's a wash for me. I'm going to make all the money on the back end,
Right.
the online courses.
Yeah. Beautiful business model. And they said, especially since you don't have to do it anymore. So that motivates you, I guess, right?
It does. It gets me out of bed in the morning and trying to make things better. Like I said, I spent 3 hours yesterday with Mark's stuff, going through all my videos, making those better, and increasing my SEO, hopefully, with it. I'm sorry I'm getting this dinging in the background, but my daughter's on some type of chat with my wife.
I don't hear it.
I don't know how to stop it.
We don't hear it. I heard
it?
the thunder, or I heard you farting, one or the other, or burping.
It's all farting and thunder.
But if you started farting with little dings, then I'd be worried.
Yeah. But like when I first started my online business, I didn't know how it was going to go. And I was hoping that the first year, if I had 30 or 35 people take the course online, that was going to be like an extra $6,000 that year. Say, hey, that's great. Low extra income there. Well, the first year I had over 300 people take it. And last year was the fourth or fifth year I've been doing it, and I broke 900.
Oh, man.
So, and I mean, it's all automated except for the part of grading the quizzes. And I've got all the quiz answers memorized now. So I can just look at a test and go, C bad, C dad, cack, cack. Boom, next one, and I've got a lot of the things that I used to do by hand, all done by macros now. So I'm in the process of trying to find somebody who can design software for me to do all this automatically. And then I'll really be doing nothing. I'll be going, I don't want to talk to Tom. I'd have to pick up a phone.
I do have a tip for that. Is that anytime you want to, now I'm totally against software most of the time that's not off the shelf.
I know what you're going to say because I repeat it to everybody.
What's that?
When I'm looking for somebody to do this, my first line is, this is a no-brainer for anybody who knows what they're doing.
That's right.
Am I right?
That's absolutely right. There's one extra step. You shouldn't really be looking for a programmer. You should be looking for a project manager.
Project manager.
Yeah,
okay.
because see, if guys like us are talking directly to a programmer, somebody's going to get hurt because they can't understand you. As soon as you say, well, I'd like it to do this. And they're like, that's 40,000 more lines of code. You're crazy.
Right.
And then they're trying to tell you stuff you don't understand. So a project manager is like an interpreter.
Right.
It can talk to the entrepreneur and then translate that into talking to the programmer so that nobody kills each other. And the project
Except the general contractor.
Well, project manager is
Right.
So it's the same thing in building. Yeah. So it probably gets you the job done much faster with less stress to it. So,
but I can't tell you how many times I've used that line.
Yeah.
And my wife too. She needs to get something done on the internet. I go, honey, the first thing you want to say is.
There you go. Well, hey, man, it's been so good catching up with you. I'm thrilled about all your successes and all the good vibes you've been putting into the world with these people that are turning their lives around because of you.
Well, you too, brother. And you know what? I've got a little extra bonus just for your people here today.
Right, great.
Is I put together a white paper a few years ago on the 20 mistakes most people make when trying to use humor.
Beautiful.
And it's a great paper. And anybody that orders the AdLib CD will get the AdLib CD, the ebook for that, and also the white paper for 20 mistakes people make.
Awesome. And we'll put that in the show notes, so they'll be able to do that with no problem. It's really, really great, the things you're doing. And thanks for coming on, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking, Tom.
All right, everybody. So this has been episode 110. So you can go, if you want to listen again, to screwthecommute.com/110, and it'll go right to Jeff's episode. Make sure you get the podcast app, because that'll help you take us on the road with you. And if you're going to be doing any traveling this spring or summer, and you want to not do mindless crap that's on the radio mostly, make sure you listen to podcasts. They're really taking off, and it's kind of a rolling university. So check the show notes for all the details about Jeff, and we will catch y'all on the next episode. See you later.